My name is Asher Kincaid. I'm 32, the youngest son of a family that no longer exists, not in the way people think it does. My father was declared dead. My mother disappeared before I was 10. My brother inherited the ashes of our legacy. And me? I became invisible. The kind of invisible that can move billions without being seen. The kind of invisible that makes people talk freely in front of you because they believe you're too small to matter. I live in an old brick complex on the outskirts of Charleston, drive a dented '08 Corolla, and work as a financial consultant for people who never ask for business cards. It's easier that way. The first time I met the Whitlocks, I wore a frayed blazer and borrowed shoes. I looked like the stereotype they wanted to believe in. Vivian Whitlock, Simone's mother, watched me like she could smell fake wealth on my skin. Her husband, Franklin, didn't bother hiding his disdain. Marcus told us you were in finance, Vivian said across the candlelit table. That could mean anything these days. I nodded, took a sip of water. It does. Simone kicked me gently under the table, a silent plea to behave. Franklin leaned back. So you live in, what did you say, West Ashley? That's charming. It's convenient, I said. He smirked. For what? Bus routes. Vivian laughed. Crystal earrings catching the chandelier's shimmer. Every movement rehearsed. They didn't know I owned 3 shell companies that controlled a logistics firm, their bank, heavily financed. They didn't know my assets were buried behind holding firms in Luxembourg and the Caymans. They didn't know I built my empire while living like a ghost, because it's easier to control the game when no one sees you on the board. You ever think about moving up? Franklin asked. Someplace respectable. I smiled. Sometimes. But comfort isn't found in zip codes. That made Vivian blink. She hated losing footing in a conversation. Simone stayed quiet. Her wine glass trembled slightly in her hand. She wasn't built like them, but she hadn't yet figured out how far she'd fallen into their orbit. Dinner dragged. The Whitlocks talked about land deals and old money like they were badges of war. I asked questions, played dumb, took mental notes. Vivian pulled out a platinum card when the check came. I beat her to it, used my old, scuffed debit card, the kind waiter's second guess. She chuckled, loud enough for nearby tables to hear. Oh, how precious. Let's hope it clears. It did, with an account linked to a trust no one would trace back to me. When the waiter returned, I thanked him by name. He gave me a look, recognition, but said nothing. Outside, as we waited for valet, Franklin lit a cigar. You should take pride in appearances, son. That's how people know your worth. No, I said calmly. That's how people know your price. His smirk faded. Vivian narrowed her eyes. Simone looked like she wanted to disappear into the concrete. The valet brought my Corolla. The Whitlocks laughed. Vivian leaned in, whispering, You better hope Simone's not expecting anything more than this. I turned to her, quiet. Maybe she deserves something less. For a second, her eyes flickered. Confusion. Then something else. Fear? Back home, I peeled off the blazer, sat on the edge of my bed, and opened the encrypted message on my backup phone. Whitlocks acquired access to Dominic's signature. Trust triggered. I stared at the screen. Blood roared in my ears. They hadn't just insulted me. They'd made their move. I stood, opened the old trunk under my bed, and pulled out the hard drive labeled Kincaid Legacy, Contingency Alpha. Vivian thought she was playing chess, but I designed the board. And tonight they walked right into it. If my father's alive, then this was never about money. The hard drive was ice cold. I hadn't touched it in years. Its weight felt heavier now, like it knew the truths inside weren't ready to be unearthed. I slid it into my laptop, eyes darting to the living room window. No sados. No movement. Still, I closed the blinds. Encrypted folders blinked to life. Kincaid Holdings, Dominic Testament, Whitlock Audit Trail. I clicked on the third. A scanned power of attorney. Dated last week. Franklin Whitlock's signature sat beside my brother Nolan's. My father's name, Dominic R. Kincaid, was on the line above, crooked and forced. Dead men don't sign documents. I zoomed in, witnessed by Dr. Samira Calloway. I'd heard her name before. She declared my father brain dead 15 years ago. My breath caught. They brought him back. Just to use him. A ping echoed. New file upload. Trust activate / notify AMC. Someone was in the system. Live. I yanked the drive out. Power killed. No time. I grabbed my coat. Phone burner. Locked up. The Corolla's engine choked, but started. As I pulled into traffic, my fingers trembled against the wheel. There's always a second will, but the real power is in the one no one knows exists. My father used to say that back when I still believed he was teaching me, not preparing me. Downtown Charleston blurred past. Brick alleys, Spanish moss, ghosts on every corner. AMC, American Monetary Custodians, sat like a stone fortress on Broad. I parked across the street. Surveillance dome above the entrance. 2 guards out front. One was new. I walked in with purpose. I'm here for Katrina Ames. She's expecting me. The receptionist hesitated, then buzzed the elevator. Katrina met me halfway up. Red heels, blazer sharp enough to cut glass. You said you'd never come back here, she said. I also said I'd never lie to you. She didn't smile. Dominic's trust triggered, I said. Witnessed. Notarized. But that man was legally dead. They moved him somewhere. Katrina's jaw tightened. You're not the only one watching them. We entered her office. She closed the blinds. Katrina pulled a black folder from her drawer, slid it across. Inside, surveillance photos. Franklin leaving a medical transport unit in Savannah. Date stamp 2 weeks ago. Accompanied by Dr. Calloway. Another photo. A blurred figure in a wheelchair. Oxygen mask. Gray hair. A scar near the right temple. My father. Alive. What the hell is this? She leaned in. Your brother forged a family declaration to reactivate Dominic's accounts, then transferred control of Kincaid Holdings to a proxy board, stacked with Whitlock affiliates. My stomach twisted. That board owns my patent vault. And your voting rights, she added. I stood, pacing, heat rising in my neck. Why now? What's their angle? Katrina didn't blink. Vivian Whitlock was investigated last year. Insider trading. Buried, but not forgotten. They need new front-facing assets. Me, I muttered. Your clean name. Your old, tragic story. Perfect for press. I clenched my jaw. They're laundering power through bloodlines. She nodded. And you're the heir they need because the truth? Nolan's not a real Kincaid. I froze. What? Katrina opened a second file. DNA report. Matched mine to Dominic. Your brother was adopted. Quietly. Paper trail buried in probate court. That's why they brought my father back, I whispered. They needed the real Kincaid signature. She lowered her voice. And if he dies again, they keep everything. The air snapped cold. Where is he now? Undisclosed medical facility. But someone's leaking from the inside. You're not the only one chasing ghosts. My burner phone buzzed. Unknown number. 1 line of text. Turn around. Don't trust her. My pulse slammed in my ears. Katrina raised an eyebrow. Problem. I pocketed the phone. No. She walked me out. In the elevator, I watched the floor numbers drop. Cut scene. Lobby. I stepped out, head spinning. Outside, the street was quiet. Too quiet. I crossed the sidewalk, then paused. The Corolla's back window was shattered. Front seat? Empty. But on the dashboard, a single playing card. The Queen of Spades. I didn't touch it. Didn't move. Because someone just told me, checkmate is coming. I didn't sleep. I didn't shower. I drove straight from the busted Corolla to the edge of the Whitlock estate, headlights off, breathing tight. Fog rolled low across the marsh, like something half awake and watching. The main gate opened automatically before I hit the buzzer. They knew I was coming. 2 guards in gray suits, both armed. Franklin's version of hospitality. Mr. Kincaid, one of them said, voice flat. This way. We moved through the iron gate, past the ivy-covered fountain, and into a house that looked more like a set piece than a home. Marble floors, walls covered in oil portraits, everything old money, southern, sharpened, curated for intimidation. Vivian met me at the doorway like a queen greeting a rival king. Her smile was pure control. We're so glad you could make it, she said. There's something special about family coming together. Yeah, I said, especially before funerals. Her eyes flicked just for a second. Cut scene. Interior, the study. Dark wood. No windows. She offered me bourbon. I didn't touch it. I saw your car, she said, tone casual. I hope the damage wasn't inconvenient. They left a card. Aren't you used to losing? She blinked first. Your brother's upstairs, she added, like it was an afterthought. He's had a hard time adjusting. Guilt can be such a corrosive thing. I've heard poison does that too. Vivian's smile never cracked. Some things are inherited, some we earn. I left the drink on the table and walked out. Her words followed me down the hallway. There were too many cameras, tucked into flower arrangements, hidden in bookshelves, motion sensors along the baseboards. Security here wasn't about safety, it was about control. Simone appeared near the staircase, pale, shaking. Asher, you need to go, she whispered. They're not. This isn't what you think. Then tell me what it is. She hesitated. I saw them take him, she said. I didn't know who it was at first. The man in the chair. He looked like your father. My chest tightened. Where? Basement. Behind the wine cellar. But you can't. Cut scene. Hallway. Downstairs. Quiet except for the hum of a distant generator. Wine racks lined both walls. I found the latch behind a dusty bottle of Pinot. Pulled. Click. Door swung open. Cold air. Concrete steps. I moved fast. The basement wasn't finished. Exposed pipes. Flickering light. Smell of bleach and copper. At the far end, a locked study door. I didn't have time to pick it. I kicked it open. Inside, a desk covered in maps, documents, bank ledgers, security feeds, split screens of offshore servers, and family accounts. One monitor flashed, transfer pending, Swiss custody bank. But it was the photograph that froze me. My father. Alive. Wheelchair-bound. Thinner. Eyes hollow but unmistakably him. Dated 3 months ago. He wasn't dead. He'd never been dead. Footsteps behind me. Cut scene. I turned. Leland Amaze. Gray suit. Gloves. Silenced pistol. No expression. You should have stayed in West Ashley, he said. You were doing a great job pretending to be nothing. Funny, I said. You've been pretending to be human. He raised the gun. I lunged. We crashed into the desk, sending papers flying. The gun skittered across the floor. He hit fast, trained, but I was angry, desperate. We slammed against the filing cabinet. I grabbed a glass award from the shelf and smashed it into his temple. He staggered. I dove for the gun. Fired. Missed. He tackled me. We fell hard. I reached for the wine opener. Jammed it into his thigh. He screamed. I shoved him off and ran. Up the stairs into the hall, lungs burning. Vivian stood at the top, calm as a winter storm. You made a mess, she said. Not yet, I snapped. She didn't follow. I broke through the back door, out into the garden, through the hedge maze. Lights flared. Alarms howled. I dove through a side gate. Mud, blood, night air slicing into my lungs. I didn't stop running until the marsh swallowed the estate behind me. They don't want my money. They want my silence. The swamp water burned in every cut. I ditched the Corolla 2 blocks from my apartment and took the side stairwell, skipping the elevator. I'd already thrown the Queen of Spades card into a drainage ditch on the way back. Whatever message it carried, I'd heard it loud and clear. Inside, I peeled off my soaked clothes, grabbed the emergency burner taped under the kitchen sink, and called her. Katrina answered on the second ring. You're breathing like a fugitive. I was shot at, I said, and they've got him. My father. Alive. Barely. Silence. Then calm. I figured they were saving him for something. But if they've moved this fast... They forged his signature to activate the trust, I cut in. What I don't get is how they passed biometrics. The safe in Geneva has a DNA key double-auth. You can't fake that. Not unless you have someone inside the bank. Cut scene. Her office. 20 minutes later. Dim light. Blinds drawn. She looked like hell, same as me. You're not gonna like this, she said. Then let's get it over with. She slid a printed email across the desk. Confidential memo. Header. AMCU Zurich. Internal audit flag. Transfer approved via voiceprint and DNA match. Date, 3 days ago. Impossible, I whispered. There's one person with full archival DNA and voice records on your father. No, I said. Yes, she replied. Your brother, Nolan. My skin crawled. Katrina opened a second file. Surveillance Diz, Geneva. A woman in a blue coat entering the AMCU vault offices. Another photo, her ID badge caught mid-swipe. It wasn't Simone. It was Kelly Barrow, Nolan's old college girlfriend. Bioengineer. Quiet. Never on social. Vanished 4 years ago after a lab explosion in Philadelphia. She's not dead, I said. She's working for Nolan, Katrina confirmed. Which means he's not just faking signatures. He's replicating identities. My stomach dropped. We both knew what this meant. He wasn't using our father. He was becoming him. Cut scene. Downtown Charleston. Old courthouse archives. I bribed the janitor with $200 and a pack of Marlboros to let me in past hours. In the basement, I found what I needed. Probate record number 108 DRK, Dominic R. Kincaid, and stapled inside, a supplemental amendment, filed by next of kin, Nolan Kincaid. Effective transfer of power of attorney, dated 2 months before the supposed reawakening, signed and sealed with a digital key. That matched the Geneva biometric report. He'd planned this before they even faked our father's comeback. This isn't inheritance, I muttered. It's identity theft on a bloodline level. Cut scene. Simone's apartment. I used the side alley and the keypad code she once gave me when she trusted me. She opened the door in tears. I'm sorry, she said. Tell me everything you didn't at the estate. She shook her head. I didn't know what they were doing. I thought, Franklin just said it was medical. Rehab for your father. But then Nolan started showing up. With her. Kelly. Simone flinched. He calls her Liv now. I froze. That was my mother's name. They keep him sedated, Simone whispered. Your father. I heard them say his signature isn't stable anymore. He forgets. Which means they'll get rid of him as soon as they're done. I think they already have. I looked at her. Hard. What do you mean? I heard a nurse say they took care of the inconsistency. That's what they called him. An inconsistency. My throat closed. I stood. If Dominic was gone for real, then they'd already used the last usable part of him. And now I was the only legitimate Kincaid left on paper. And alive. Which meant I was next. Something buzzed behind us. Simone's phone. Blocked call. She picked it up, hands shaking. Hello. A voice, distorted but male. Come. You're both out of time. She dropped the phone. A red light blinked in the corner of her room. Not a smoke detector. A camera. We weren't alone. Not in this room. Not in this city. Not in this story anymore. We ditched Simone's apartment within 7 minutes. No lagi. No electronics. We burned the Sims and used a disposable debit I'd stashed in a hollowed-out copy of The Art of War. It felt fitting. Every war starts with knowing who you are and who you're not. We were shadows now, but so were they. They're ahead of us, Simone said, glancing over her shoulder as we slipped into the alley behind the Charleston market. Always one step. They're not ahead, I said. They're just louder. Cut scene. Catacombs beneath the Whitlock Country Club. A forgotten prohibition tunnel that hadn't seen light in 90 years. It connected the wine cellars to the old underground ballroom. Now sealed off, now secret. Katrina met us there, Glock on her hip, hair braided back. I tapped into their server, she said. Nolan's planning a public reveal. What kind of reveal? He's merging Kincaid Holdings with AMC Live. Gala event. Full press. Midnight tomorrow. At the ballroom upstairs. Midnight. Simone asked, who launches a financial empire at midnight? Someone who doesn't want a paper trail, Katrina answered. I stepped toward the cracked wall. Behind it, I could feel the bass vibrations of the room above. Music. Laughter. They were already celebrating. What do you need from me? She asked. A signature, I said. The real one. Cut scene. Flashback. Me at 17. My father's study. Oak desk. Red wax seal. You never write your name the same way twice, he said. Why? Because when the day comes they try to steal it. Only you'll know which is true. I closed my eyes now. Drew the curve. The break. The pressure point on the K. Then I nodded. You have it. Katrina pulled up the blockchain notarization tool. Encrypted signature. Cross-referenced against every known transaction in Kincaid history. Scan complete, she said. It's clean. Unduplicated. That's your weapon, I told her. The rest is mine. Cut scene. Upstairs ballroom. Midnight. I was in a valet's uniform. ID badge forged. Face shadowed by the cap. Simone was in a borrowed emerald dress. Her hair pinned back with a vintage clip containing a mic transmitter. We blended into the background. Vivian glided past in red satin. Nolan stood at the stage, hand extended to the CEO of AMC. The merger was about to go live. He's got the codes, Simone whispered in my ear. He's using Dad's thumbprint, stored on a medical drive. I saw it. Sick, twisted, but effective. Can you disable it? I asked. She shook her head. No, but I can scramble the input source for exactly 24 seconds. Long enough to expose it. If you can get it on the projector. Cut scene. I moved through the crowd, slipped behind the DJ booth, swapped his HDMI feed for mine. Katrina's upload went live. The projector above the ballroom flashed to black. Then an image. Dominic Kincaid. Slumped. Sedated. The actual date stamp burned into the bottom corner. 2 weeks ago. Gasps. People turned. Nolan froze mid-handshake. Katrina's voice cut through the system. Cold. Measured. Legal. Power of attorney revoked. Signature invalidated. This is a live federal filing. Security moved. But so did I. I pulled Nolan off the platform with one hand. Fist to jaw. The crowd erupted. Camerafones. Screaming. I shoved him against the marble pillar. You erased our father, I said. He spit blood. He was already gone. No, you just didn't want to share the throne. Because you don't deserve it, he hissed. You never fought for this family. I leaned in close. You're right, I said, but I never fought against it either. Cut scene. 2 marshals entered from the main doors. flashed badges. Katrina had tipped them an hour before. They moved fast. Nolan didn't resist, but Vivian did. She slapped Simone as they dragged her out, hissing, "You little leech." Simone didn't flinch. "The thing about blood," she said, "is it stains everything." Outside, the storm broke. Rain hammered the parking lot. Red and blue lights reflected off the ballroom's glass. It should have felt like justice, but justice doesn't bring the dead back, or wipe the guilt. And somewhere deep in my gut, something still didn't add up. I didn't feel safe. I felt watched. The court sealed the documents at 3:43 p.m. I sat in the last row. No tie. No watch. Just a black jacket, one button missing, and the final ruling echoing like a gunshot through marble walls. All controlling interest of Kincaid Holdings will transfer to Asher Nolan Kincaid, effective immediately. People clapped. I didn't. Cut scene. Katrina met me in the hallway. She didn't smile. "They're making offers already. CNBC, Vox, 2 book agents, 1 podcast." I shook my head. "Let them wonder," I said. "Truth doesn't need a trailer. You're not keeping the company." "I'll clean it up. Then I burn it down." "Then what?" I exhaled. "Then I build something that doesn't come with a body count." Cut scene. Vivian got 6 years for conspiracy to defraud and elder abuse. She'll be eligible for parole in 4. Nolan pled guilty to 2 counts of corporate identity theft, tax fraud, and misuse of medical records. 8 years. No parole. Simone got a scholarship to finish law school. Katrina started a forensic tech firm. She named it Blind Signature. I like the irony," she said. "The people who tried to blind you are now property of the state." Sometimes justice isn't poetic. It's just sharp. Cut scene. The house on Sullivan's Island hadn't changed. Same wraparound porch. Same salt rot railings. Inside it was dusty. Silent. I stood in my father's study. The glass case was still there, cracked from the night he fell into it. On the desk a note. Folded once. Handwritten. Ink faded. Legacy doesn't mean keeping what's yours. Sometimes it means letting go of what should have never been. Cut scene. March. I donated the property to the state as a marine sanctuary. The papers ran a headline. Heir walks away from empire worth $212 million. They called me the naive billionaire. Let them. I walked the pier that morning. The air smelled of brine and burnt rope. A kid passed by with a toy plane. His mother yelled, "Don't go too far!" I smiled. Far isn't always about distance. Sometimes it's escape. Cut scene. I sat alone at the outdoor cafe downtown. A woman approached. Sharp suit, scar across her cheek, no nonsense in her eyes. "Mr. Kincaid?" I didn't answer. She slid a file across the table. Leather-bound. Government seal. "You're not done," she said. What Nolan was doing, he wasn't acting alone. I opened it. A name. A timestamp. A surveillance photo from a country club in Belize. "He was laundering it through someone you trusted," she said. The photo. My godfather. Smiling. Handshake frozen mid-frame. I closed the file. "We all think we know where the rot ends," I whispered. She nodded. "But it always goes deeper." Cut scene. I stood in the mirror that night. Shirt off. Old scar from the baseball bat my cousin used when I was 14. Still there. "You were the past, or you bury it," I said aloud. That night I buried it. Not in silence, but in story. I sent my confession to the Times. Not as a press release. As a letter. This isn't a tale of revenge. It's a caution. The weakest person in your family is often the only one who remembers how to survive without power. So when you push them to the edge, just know they might be the only one who can pull you back from it. Cut scene. Final frame. The old vault at Whitlock Country Club. Empty now. Just a single piece of glass on the ground. and etched in dust above the metal lever. I never needed the name, just the truth.